I have been a wedding photographer for 10 years now, and I have never been more excited with my camera bag than I am this year. To start off, I must confess that I am a Nikon shooter, which is not really that common in the wedding photography space. I'm a hybrid shooter, which means I shoot both film photography and digital photography on the same day. I've been cleaning and prepping my gear, and so I thought this would be a good time to share with you what's in my camera bag. So the first thing are the bags. I did a lot of research into what kind of camera bags would be the best for what we use it for, and I tried a bunch of different options. My main issue with camera bags is that they're so ugly. They all look the same. They look very kind of geary and tech-like, which I don't love. What I really wanted to do was actually purchase a really beautiful carry-on luggage and then use Peak Design inserts inside of it to kind of make my own camera bag that looked really good. That did not work because the measurements for everything just doesn't fit. I came across this brand Nanook, which is a Canadian kind of version of Pelican cases. The two things that I really loved about these cases was, one, I liked the slick kind of clean look that they had, and I also loved the inserts that they provided. But they also have these 3 clear zipped pouches, which is really great for accessories, batteries, anything like that. These bags don't hold as much as your traditional camera bag would. I think there's a lot of space kind of lost by having a hard case like this. So I will say, if you have tons of gear, these bags aren't great for you, but I kind of like that it keeps me down to a minimum and I don't carry around things that I don't need. So the question you may have is, why did you get 2 bags and why didn't you just get one? That makes so much more sense. So my thinking around having 2 separate and identical bags is, first, we do shoot as a 2-person team. While we spend most of the wedding day shooting the same event at the same time, there are times when I need to grab a bag and go, and Allie needs to grab a bag and go. Our first camera bag carries everything that we put on at the beginning of the day. So these are all of our primary cameras and gear and accessories, and so that case is pretty much empty and not really used for the rest of the day. The second case is all of our additional lenses, our backup gear, batteries, extra film, stuff like that. The only other case that I carry on a wedding day is this Peak Design pouch, and this is primarily used to hold my film. So for straps and attachments and such things like that, Allie uses a brand called Rose Anvil. She uses a double leather camera straps, and she uses this just because it works best for her wardrobe and things that she wears to weddings. For me, I use these Peak Design clips. These pads are additional things that you purchase that actually loop onto your belt. So I carry 2 cameras on my waist. I've been using these for 3 years, and I have toyed with the possibility of switching over to that double harness strap thing. I don't love the idea of kind of having these 2 big straps over my suit coat. I just like that they're secure, that they're not swinging around. I think that helps with kind of back fatigue. And so I've found that I like the kind of weight distribution by using these Peak Design clips on my waist. We also carry 2 straps from Peak Design, just like black camera straps, a thick one and a thin one. And we'll use this kind of at the reception. We're not necessarily needing to carry all of our cameras all at the same time. So it's kind of nice to be able to take everything off and just, if I need to carry 1 camera around at a time, I'll switch to one of these straps instead. So for flashes this year, this is probably the newest addition to my camera bag. I made a video about this not that long ago, and that is these new Godox V1 flashes. They're a round shaped speed light similar to the Profoto something 10, V10, P10, something like that. Anyways, Profoto has a similar one, and so this is my first year shooting with these, and so we'll see what happens. I'll probably do a review video at the end of the year. We really don't use flash for anything except the reception. I started doing something last year, which I will continue doing this year, and that is bringing along some continuous LED lighting. So these are just kind of like video lights. I have a small one and a large one, and these are just battery powered. I've actually really enjoyed using these, especially during a first dance or a cake cutting. It just gives you, I think it gives you the ability to kind of make some faster choices when you can see what's actually happening, with the light in real time. I find when I shoot flash, there's so much dependent on like where it's gonna bounce, if you're moving, if the subject's moving. So what I've actually kind of liked with these continuous lights is just to set them on a tripod, to point it down at wherever I need to shoot. And then I can either move, the couple can move, and I find I can make decisions a lot quicker. I also think it kind of adds a nice level of vibe to the actual moment. So whether that gives a little bit of extra light to even guess, to kind of see what's happening. But also I find just the quality of the photography is a little different. It's a little bit more vibey. It's less really kind of sharp and clean, like when you use a flash. And so I think it's also kind of a stylistic choice of when I choose flash and when I choose kind of continuous LED lighting. All right, so camera time. The first ones I'll go over is my film photography gear. So the main thing that I shoot, if you've seen any video on this channel before, you know that I love the Contax 645. I love this. This is a medium format film camera. So we use two lenses. I would say for 98% of photos, we use the 80mm lens, and we also have the 45mm lens. So the 80mm lens is kind of equivalent-ish to a 50mm, and then we have a 45. It's a very wide lens, and we just don't really shoot with that much. We have two of these Contax 645, as well as a bunch of backup film backs, a few backup film inserts as well. As I'm editing this, I realized that I forgot two things in the film photography section. The first one is the light meter that I use. I don't use the internal light meter in my Contax. I use this light meter, a Sekonic light meter, to meter for all the film photographs that I take. The second thing is these close-up filters. So instead of having a macro lens for my Contax camera, you get these close-up filters that actually screw on to the front of your existing lens and help your lens focus closer so that you can get, closer imagery, a little bit more of like a macro look. For our digital bodies, we use the Nikon Z6 II. I've done an extensive review video on this already if you're interested in kind of getting way into the depths of this camera. And these cameras work really well with our style of photography, the color and look of our editing, stuff like that. They're incredibly powerful cameras for what we need in wedding photography. So for our digital lenses, we use the same system as our body. We don't use any of the former F-mount Nikon lenses. We use all of the new mirrorless Z series lenses, and we've loved the transition of them. I've done a few reviews already on kind of most of the lenses that we use. The primary lens that I shoot with is the Nikon 51.2. I also have a very thorough video review on that, but that is the primary lens that I shoot throughout most, if not all, of the wedding day. So I will have that on one side of me, and then I'll have my Contax on the other side of me. The only other lens that I really use is the 24-70 f4.0. I've also done a video on that if you want to get more in depth into that. But that I really only use for formal portraits or something where I need at least an f4 for, and I need that kind of maybe 24, or I need a 35mm. Anytime where I need wide shots, I will use that lens. My wife, on the other hand, also has a 50mm, but she primarily shoots with a 35 1.8, but also our 105 2.8. what we do is kind of complement each other in the type of lenses and the type of kind of perspective we have on every day. While we primarily use, the lenses that I mentioned, we also kind of switch them around depending on, what happens in the moment and what we're looking to capture. So for tripods and light stands, we just have one of each. We just have a small Westcott light stand as well as the Peak Design travel tripod. I found that I don't use a tripod or a light stand very often at a wedding at all. I'll use a light stand maybe if I use a continuous LED light. But again, I'm looking for the simplest, most streamlined way that I can use gear. And so I really only bring these things as a backup. Or if I want to do like a long exposure or something like that with a tripod. For our details and flat lay photography, we bring along a styling board as well as our kind of like styling kit. Now these can change depending on the wedding and the style of the wedding that we're shooting. If we're not pre-making our own backdrops, whether that's on canvas or some type of cardboard or board or something like that, if we're not making our own background specific for the wedding, we like the heirloom bindery boards that we have, but they do take up a little bit more space because they're a rigid board and they don't just like kind of roll up into it too. So not only do we take photos with, cameras, we also bring a drone to our weddings. While we don't do any videography, we focus solely on photography. I use this drone to take photos, whether that's ceremony photos or location photos. It may be the most insignificant thing, but I think it's one of the most important things, and that is a clipboard, a really nice clipboard. In this clipboard is very important. I print off on physical paper the schedule, the timelines, phone numbers, names of important people, and the family photo list. Now, you might ask me, Luke, come on. Why do you need to be printing off things? Just use your phone, come on. When you pull up your phone at a wedding, there is no sign that says, hey, I'm looking at the schedule. I'm not texting my friends right now or looking on Instagram. I just think pulling out your phone when you're working a wedding just looks really unprofessional. And what looks really professional is pulling out a binder. I really like to have physical copies of all of those important things so that I can, go through the family list and physically check off everything just to make sure that I don't forget anything. So you're not forgetting anything and you're making sure, you're there for all the important things, but you also look really professional and you don't put doubt in anyone's mind that you're just scrolling on Instagram. And that concludes what is in my camera bag for 2023. If there is something that you have in your camera bag that you're like, Luke, I don't even know how you don't have this. Comment and tell me what you have in your camera bag that I need to get to update mine. I'm always looking for things that could help my process and help me being a better photographer. And I hope going through my gear was helpful for you as well. And if you're interested in finding any of the things that I mentioned in this video, I'm going to link everything in the description below so you can find these things online if you're interested in purchasing them for your own camera bag. If you haven't already, you should totally subscribe, maybe even hit the like button. The like button is the best type of virtual high five. So if this was helpful in any way, just hit the like button or subscribe and I will take that as a virtual high five and that will make me so happy. Thank you. Goodbye.